Brothers and sisters, whether you want me as a brother or not, we all part of the same family. But I know we like to stick together, right? Most of us. We'll take care of the ones that look just like us, better than we will of anybody else, except for black people. They have been traumatized and taught to hate themselves and other black people. So, no wonder they act the way they do. But I have something to say. You can't talk about black people and how they act when you got murderers running around in suits. You have people in suits that keep you sick mentally and physically, because keeping you sick is big business. It's worth billions, trillions, and they'll do anything to keep the money flowing. Now, I have 4 to 5 titles, and I cannot get that information into you in 10 minutes. But all of these subtitles fall under this one title. If you follow the money, you will find the monster. That means that if you trace the money back to its origin and who has it now, where it came from when it decided to murder or keep people sick, you will find the true monster. Not the one that they made up, not the one that you believe in your mind because they look different from you. I'm not going to talk too much further because this is something you need to hear. You can call me a monster, but I'm nowhere near, and none of the people that I know are nowhere near this cruel. Nowhere near it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Traoré began, his face grave on the encrypted connection. What I'm about to show you will anger you beyond measure. It will make you question everything about modern medicine. But more importantly, it will save millions of lives. He shared his screen, displaying a document marked Project Silence 1983 to 2023. The classification stamps from various pharmaceutical companies were visible, along with signatures from executives, some of whom were now running global health organizations. This document, Traoré continued, proves that effective cancer treatments derived from African traditional medicine have been systematically suppressed for 40 years. Not because they didn't work, but because they worked too well and couldn't be patented for profit. The first whistleblower, Dr. Sarah Chen, formerly of Pfizer's Oncology Research Division, her face digitally obscured for protection, began speaking. In 1983, our research team in Burkina Faso identified a compound from the Dendrocycos socatranus plant, locally known as the tree that defeats death. Initial trials showed 94% efficacy in stopping tumor growth across multiple cancer types. The treatment cost approximately $50 to produce a full course. Management immediately classified the research and terminated the project. President Paul Kagame of Rwanda interrupted. "You're telling us they had a cure and buried it?" "Not just buried it," Chen continued. "They actively worked to discredit traditional medicine, funded studies designed to fail, and ensured that any researcher who got close to rediscovering these compounds had their funding cut, their reputation destroyed, or worse." The second whistleblower, Dr. James Morrison from Novartis, added his testimony. "We called it the African problem. Too many effective treatments were coming from traditional medicine that couldn't be patented. So in 1987, major pharmaceutical companies formed a secret consortium called the Medical Market Protection Group. Their sole purpose was to suppress, discredit, or steal traditional medical knowledge while pushing expensive, less effective treatments. Traoré pulled up another document. This is the part that will hurt the most. Look at the mortality statistics. The screen showed a graph. 47 million people had died from cancers that could have been treated with the suppressed therapies. 47 million souls lost to protect profit margins. President Cyril Ramaphosa of South Africa was visibly shaking with anger. "My mother, she died of liver cancer in 1995. You're telling me she could have been saved? I'm telling you she was murdered by corporate greed, Traore replied bluntly. And she wasn't alone. Every African family has lost someone who could have been saved. The third whistleblower, Dr. Amara Diallo, who had worked for Johnson & Johnson, revealed the most damaging information. I have recordings, secret board meetings where executives discussed the acceptable death rates to maintain market share. They calculated that letting 10 million Africans die annually from treatable cancers was more profitable than releasing cures that would destroy the chemotherapy industry. She played an audio recording. The voice of Richardson Hayes, CEO of PharmaCorp International, was clear. Gentlemen, the African continent is our testing ground and our profit center. We test drugs there because regulations are weak and people are desperate. We suppress their traditional cures because they threaten our $200 billion oncology market. This is business, not charity. The room was silent as the recording continued. The beauty of our system is that we've convinced them their own medicine is primitive while selling them poisons at prices that bankrupt their nations. The IMF loans they take to buy our drugs ensure they remain dependent for generations. Traditional healer Mama Ashanti from Ghana, 87 years old, and joining by satellite phone from her village, spoke next. My grandmother taught me the cure when I was 7. We've been healing cancer in our village for centuries, but when I tried to share this knowledge with hospitals, men in suits came. They burned my plants, destroyed my notes, threatened my family. They said I was practicing dangerous quackery. 23 people I could have saved died that year. Traore had heard enough. Fellow leaders, we have 3 options. We can remain silent and complicit. We can rage impotently, or we can act. I propose we act. He outlined his plan. Immediate release of all suppressed research, mass production of traditional cancer treatments, free distribution across Africa, global live stream of the evidence, international criminal prosecution of pharmaceutical executives, creation of the African Medical Sovereignty Initiative. President Nana Akufo-Addo of Ghana raised a concern Ibrahim they'll retaliate. Economic sanctions, medical embargoes, maybe worse. They're already killing us, Traore replied. What's worse than genocide disguised as healthcare? The vote was unanimous. Operation Medical Liberation would begin immediately. But Traore had prepared for months before this meeting. In secret facilities across Burkina Faso, protected by military units, scientists had been working with traditional healers to synthesize, test, and mass-produce the suppressed treatments. They had already produced enough to treat 10 million patients. 24 hours after the secret conference, Traore stood before the United Nations General Assembly. But this wasn't a scheduled appearance. He had invoked Article 99 of the UN Charter, claiming a threat to international peace and security that required immediate attention. Distinguished delegates, he began, as cameras broadcasted to billions worldwide, I stand before you to report a crime against humanity that dwarfs any genocide in history. For 40 years, pharmaceutical companies have deliberately suppressed cancer cures to protect profits, causing the preventable deaths of over 47 million people. Gasps echoed through the assembly hall. The American ambassador was frantically making phone calls. The British representative looked pale. The French delegation was already walking out. But Traore wasn't finished. I have proof. The main screen lit up with documents, recordings, and testimonies. For the next hour, the world watched in horror as the evidence unfolded. Emails between executives joking about African death quotas. Research papers marked "Destroy Pissed." Financial projections showing how curing cancer would devastate shareholder value. The most damning evidence was a video from a 2019 pharmaceutical industry conference. The speaker, unaware he was being recorded, said, "The African traditional medicine threat is real. They have treatments that work better than our best drugs at 1% of the cost. Our strategy must be total suppression. Fund opposition research. Bribe health ministers. If necessary, eliminate problem healers. This is war. And in war, casualties are acceptable."
There you have it. Now, there's nothing new under the sun. This information starts back further than 1983. But here we are, 20 years in the future, and people are still dying of cancer. And the sad part about it is, y'all still sitting on the sofa. You're still taking that radiation treatment when there's a cure. I don't know. Sometimes we're supposed to be so intelligent, but our actions proves different.